Today we're going to do an example. We're going to graph an equation. We're going to use those 4 steps that we talked about. And so this is going to be one of 3 different examples that I will do. And so the first one is we have this equation. We have a linear equation here. And so we're going to solve this first by going through the steps. So step number 1 is find the x and y intercepts. Okay? So how do we find the x and y intercepts? Well, to find the x-intercept, we set y equal to 0. Okay? So when y is equal to 0, what happens? We have 0 equals 4x minus 1. And then if you solve this, you get what? Well, if you just add 1 to both sides, you get 1 equals 4x. And if you divide both sides by 4, you get x equals 1/4. And so we know that there's a point at y equals 0 and x equals 1/4. So that's going to be right about here. Okay? Now, what about the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept occurs when x is equal to 0, right? Because it crosses the x-axis when, or excuse me, it crosses the y-axis when x is equal to 0. So we're going to set x equal to 0, and we're going to take the same thing. So we're going to say y equals 4 times 0 minus 1, which equals -1. And so now we know that there's a point, so the y-intercept is at 0, -1. And over here we know that the x-intercept is at 1/4, 0. So right away, we've got 2 points. Now, step 2 we don't need to do because this is a straight line. It's a linear equation, which we've talked about. And so linear equations are a straight line, so we just need 2 points, right? You only need 2 points to plot a straight line. So this one, 0, -1, 0, -1 is going to be right here. Okay? And so if we want to connect those with a straight line, then we would just, oops, let me use a different marker. Do something like that. And that's it. So we use the steps, right? So step number 1, we found the intercepts. Step number 2, plot additional points if needed, as needed. We don't need those here. And then we plot our points. And then we connected it with a nice straight line. Okay? And that's it. So now, what about another equation? So let's say we have this one. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Okay, so now let's do the same thing. So now we have this equation, and now what we're going to do is we're going to, again, start with step number 1, find the intercepts. So let's do the x-intercept. Okay, so the x-intercept, this is when y is equal to 0. So we're going to plug in 0 for y here, and we get x equals the square root of 0 minus 1, which equals the square root of 1, which equals 1. So now we have an intercept that's located at 1, comma 0. Okay? And then the y-intercept we're going to set x equal to 0, and we're going to solve this same equation with x equal to 0. So we get 0 equals the square root of y minus 1. And so if we square both sides, we get 0 equals y minus 1. And so then y equals 1. And so the y-intercept is going to be 0, comma 1. And so now let's plot these 2 points. So we're going to do 1, comma 0. So 1, 0 is right here. And then we're going to do 0, 1. It would be 0, 1 right here. Now, in this case here, I skipped step 2. So in this case, if you skipped step 2, and all you did was plot these 2 points and did a straight line, you would be wrong. Okay, so this is where step 2 is important, because it's not always going to be the case that you're going to be able to plot this thing accurately without some additional points. So let's do some additional points here. So remember step 2, don't ever forget, plot when it comes to square roots, or when it comes to squares, or something else besides linear, you're going to want at least 3 points. I would go maybe 4 or 5 just to get a good picture. Okay, so now let's get some more points to plot on this thing. So we got the x and y intercept. Okay, so now let's come up with some more points. Okay, so this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, is just create a table and let's plug in some values. Okay, well, we already got 0 and 1 for x. We already got 1 and 0 for x. Okay, so let's try negative 1. Okay, well, if we do negative 1 and we plug in negative 1 here and square both sides, we get 1, and then we're going to get 2. Okay, and if I plug in, let's see, if I plug in negative 2, what am I going to get? Well, if I put in negative 2 here and then square both sides, I'm going to get 4 equals y minus 1, which is going to give me 5. Okay. Now let's go over here. Let's put in 2. What do we get for 2 if we put in 2 here? Well, in this case, we get the same answer, but except for 2 here. Because if we square both sides, we're going to get 4, and we're going to get y minus 1 again, and we add 1 to both sides, and we're going to get 5. Okay? So now, here's 3 more points. So let's plot these points. So I've got negative 1, 2. So negative 1, 2 is right here. Okay? And then negative 2, 5. So negative 2, 5 here. And now, if I plot in 2, 5 here, let's go 2, 5. So 2, 5, now it's going to go here. Okay. Hold on, let me see, am I doing this right? So 1, here we go, plug in value for x, so 0. Yeah, 0, 1. Plug in a value. Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, 2, 4, 2, 5. Yeah, that's right. So here, if we plot another point, just so we can see this better. So this is going to be, let's see, this is 2. If we do 3, that's going to be too far off. I don't want to go too far off. So negative 3, so negative 0, 0, 1. Did I plot this right? 0, 1, yep. And then okay, so x is 0. When x is 0, y is 1. Oh wait, is that where I made a mistake? So 1 squared is 2.